Have you ever noticed how the rules in some men's professional sports like baseball, hockey, and basketball seem almost sacred? The pitch clock in MLB took so long to implement. Purists were worried it would change the game. All it's doing is telling guys to hurry it up because we got places to be. The NHL is notoriously slow to make rule and equipment changes. Call me lame if you want, but why aren't guys wearing neck guards in 2025? And the NBA still arguing about the All-Star Game format, let alone the actual rule book. There's this idea in men's pro sports that the rules are untouchable, that tradition is the whole point. But in women's sports, there's a different energy entirely. The first time I really came across this was during the pandemic. This was sort of preceding the women's sports boom as we know it, and I was hired to write for a women's league that hadn't launched yet called Athletes Unlimited, founded by John Patricof and Jonathan Soros. 5 years down the road, they have run women's leagues in volleyball, softball, basketball, lacrosse, but back then, they were still in planning mode. I had quite a few conversations with John and Jonathan about their outlook on women's sports and how they wanted to contribute to moving it forward, and that's the first time I got insight into how flexible and innovative women's leagues can be. Athletes Unlimited is one of the most innovative leagues in sports, period. In AU basketball, teams change every week. Players earn individual points based on performance, and then captains draft the teams. It's fast, experimental, and built with the fan in mind, and it works. Or look at the PWHL, which has a whole laundry list of innovations like the Gold Plan, a system where teams that miss the playoffs are rewarded for wins after elimination. So instead of tanking for draft odds, teams fight to the end of the season. Or the playoff opponent selection, where the number one seed gets to choose its opponent in the semifinals. It's strategic, it's dramatic, and it puts pressure on performance, not just standings. Actually, about 30% of NHL players said they'd like to add the PWHL's jailbreak rule to their game. The craziest thing about that to me is that was a question in the NHLPA's annual survey of all players. The reverse is not happening. The PWHLPA is not asking its players, which innovative NHL rule would you like to add? Because there aren't any. In sports leagues right now, innovation is a woman's game. So why is this happening? Partly because women's leagues are often starting from scratch. They're not locked into century-old structures or traditions, but also because they have to fight harder for fans, visibility, and legitimacy. That pressure creates urgency, and urgency creates room for reinvention, but it also does something else. It builds a better experience for fans, for players, for everyone. When leagues aren't beholden to 100 years of we've always done it this way, they can actually respond to what's happening in the moment, what the moment needs. They can center player health, they can test ideas, they can course correct faster, they can listen. And that creates space for a version of sport that's not just about protecting the past, but shaping the future. A future where fans don't need to pass a knowledge test to join, where athletes aren't treated like accessories to a brand, where the game evolves because the people inside it care enough to ask if it still works. That's not a gimmick, that's leadership. So yeah, when I say innovation is a women's sports thing, I don't just mean rule tweaks or playoff formats. I mean the courage to reimagine the whole system.